That doesn't look good. Okay, everybody. Welcome to Wednesday, October 31st. It is Halloween today, so happy Halloween. If you're in my area, I hope you can get outside and trick or treat. It is raining, storm pushing through. Yesterday was beautiful. Tomorrow's supposed to be beautiful, but today is rainy and yucky, and it's been on and off. So hopefully you and your kiddos can get out and trick or treat and have some fun getting candy. Hopefully you don't eat it all in one go. Okay, like I used to do. Spread the candy out on the floor and see what happens from there. But the other day I mentioned that I wanted to jump on this week and do a little talk here about the vagus nerve. And I'm going to chit chat with you guys about that a little bit. As always, I have my notes. So we're going to work our way through the notes and see what we can find. We talked about the vagus nerve quite a bit last Wednesday night at the Perfect Storm Talk. Again, thank you to everyone who came out. It was a really nice turnout, and a lot of people were really excited about the information that they heard. So hopefully we can clue you guys in a little bit more today and a little bit more specifically on some of this information. You know, there's so many kids that are sick with so many different things, and a lot of times the parents that I'm talking to, they're going to a lot of different doctors. They're going to the gut doctor because the kiddo has, you know, a queasy stomach and they're always kind of sick, and maybe they don't want to eat. They've got lots of colds and flus, these types of things. They may even have, you know, like we've talked about, some of the emotional things where they can't quite control their emotions. And it seems a lot of the time like a lot of these are separate issues, but really when we get down to it, it can all be related back to the vagus nerve. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So I just want to put out there too that we're not going to use the alphabet soup today: ADD, ADHD, SPD, XYZ, 1, 2, 3. And we're not going to put a good or bad label on it. We're just going to talk about this nerve, where it goes throughout the body, what it innervates, what it's made up of, and then how we can stimulate it and how it affects the kids and the adults. So adults too, listen in a bit, and you may find that you need some of this as well. It's hard to say. Couple of things I want to throw out to the parents: don't give up hope. There's hope out there. There's a lot that we can do for these kiddos, and I hope that you listen in and find a little hope here. I know that you're living through heck sometimes, or HE double hockey stick, and I know that it can be really hard. I know it can be really frustrating, and I know that these challenges are sucking up a lot of time and energy for you guys. And you know, a lot of these problems are really deep in the nervous system. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And not knowing why or what to do can be very, very frustrating. So hopefully, again, we can clear some of that up today. So there's hope out there. And as we're going through this, you may be saying to yourself, can this help my kiddo? And it may be able to. So let's see what we find. And what's interesting about a lot of these things is that a lot of the answers are in the vagus nerve, and that's what we're going to talk about. And that's what I titled my Facebook Live today, is so many questions answered through the vagus nerve. Why are so many kids sick with the same challenges and they have the same stories, right? So like we talked about at the Perfect Storm last week, we see a pattern with the kids that are coming in with these issues over and over and over again. There's issues with mom getting pregnant. There's, you know, fertility issues. There's a lot of stress during the pregnancy. Then there's a lot of stress and intervention with the labor and the delivery. And then there's a lot of early childhood issues like we just talked about: ear infections, colds and flus, eczema. Then that moves into allergies and asthma, and then it moves into other things. And all of these challenges may be connected to one thing: that vagus nerve. And so you or your kiddos may be struggling with one or more of these symptoms. And we're not going to get into huge symptoms or diagnosis, but we're going to ask why. Okay, we're going to ask why. So I've got some general information here. So we're going to talk about the vagus nerve. It's the most important nerve that you probably didn't know that you had. A lot of us don't even know what that is. We've never heard of it. Or maybe if you've been going to therapy or doing some of your own Googling, you've maybe heard the term of the vagus nerve. The word vagus in Latin actually means wandering. So it's also called the wandering nerve in the body. It's the longest nerve in the body as well. And it's one of the 12 cranial nerves. It's actually the 10th cranial nerve is the vagus nerve. So just a little anatomy stuff there. The vagus nerve is mostly parasympathetic, so it's 85% parasympathetic. So from other Facebook Lives and talks we've done, remember parasympathetic is that rest and digest, and the sympathetic is being chased by the bear and so forth. So it's mostly parasympathetic. When the vagus nerve has good tone and it's being stimulated, then we have more of the rest and digest. We're pushing on that brake pedal. When the vagal tone is down, then we don't have as much parasympathetic. The sympathetics are able to take over, and we're pressing on that gas pedal. So remember, it can be a governor. We mentioned that in the past. The vagus nerve can be a governor for a lot of this. Let's see, it's parasympathetic. It actually has a connection to all organs except the adrenals. Interesting. It starts up, it comes out from the skull, it comes out into the neck, and it traverses all the way down through our system to the second segment of the transverse colon. So that's where it stops. So it stops at the second part of our colon there. It's going to affect our breathing, our heart rate, our gut and GI, so digestion, sweating. It goes to the muscles in the mouth and movement, so it can affect speech or stuttering like I do, right? Get a little nervous, get a little amped up, and we start to stutter. There's innervation to the inner and outer ear, and specifically there's a muscle that actually helps drain the ear, and when that muscle isn't stimulated, then the ears can actually get backed up. So a lot of times it's a plumbing issue. Interesting enough, it can actually have also a satiation component, meaning feeling how hungry we are. And people who don't have good vagal tone, they tend to be hungry. Interesting. I was doing a little bit more research today. I found some of this info. And in high stress situations, there's going to be an emotional and social component as well. Okay. Let's see. They do have vagal stimulators in the medical world. And it's interesting, they're using these in epilepsy patients. They use them with clinical depression, with folks that have drug-resistant clinical depression, and also in tinnitus. So the medical community is more than aware that the vagus nerve plays a role in all these issues. But what's interesting too is that we can stimulate the vagal nerve without doing any kind of intervention. We're going to talk about that in a minute. The stimulators can also affect anxiety disorders, addiction. The vagus nerve is also very sensitive to toxins and addictions, which is very interesting. It can affect migraines, leaky gut issues. So again, that was gut. I have, when someone says, oh, I just had a gut feeling, or I had a gut instinct on that. Vagus nerve, right? There's a lot of stuff that goes on the gut. We also know that there's a high immune component in the gut as well. And again, mood disorders. So there's a lot of stuff going on with this guy, okay? So there's a quote that we like to use a lot of the time, and that's the job of the nervous system is to perceive and coordinate the behavior of all other cells in the body. And like I just said, the vagus nerve stimulates or has a connection to most of the other organs in the body. So that's really interesting, right? Like it's going to connect to everything, and it's going to regulate all of these things in the system. So a lot of times with these kids, what we're seeing immune and gut issues and digestive issues. And like we just said, the vagal nerve innervates all these areas, and it's a parasympathetic connection. So it's that calming, right? So we're going to see ear infections, asthmas, allergies, eczemas, tonsil issues, and nervous stomach, okay? The vagus nerve comes out of the skull and it runs right down. It runs right down through here, right down the back, right up against our cervical vertebra, okay? So right up at the top. When we do the very specific upper neck adjustments, we can stimulate the vagus nerve, okay? When we do the scans, like like we've talked about, then we know where to do the adjustment. We know how deep the problem is. We know how deep the stress is in the bottom, in the body. We know exactly how much, and we know where it's located, so we can go right into that area. There's a lot of times there's injury to the vagus nerve way up top in our little guys. There can be interference in more than one place, but with our perfect storm kids, we're seeing it way up high, and a lot of times that's where a lot of the perfect storm is starting, and it's due to the delivery injuries. Yeah, we're going to say that. Let's see. It's like we talked about, it has a long anatomical pathway, so it can be easily injured or interfered with. And like I said, it's during the birth. So especially with C-sections and the way they twist and pull the head so that they can get the baby out, that's what we see a lot of. Let's see. It's one of the most important and potent nerves in the system, and it's like a sensory antenna. So it's going to read everything that's going on in the body, and it's going to send mostly back to the brain and then a little bit back down, okay? Let's see, what else? And we already talked about all the connections. We have digestion, immune, we have rest, we have the social, emotional, and we have the speech and oral, okay? Because we have the connections to those areas. So this is super important. And what we're seeing is that when we have the opportunity to stimulate the vagus nerve, it gives us that overall calming in the system. So again, that parasympathetic, it kicks it up into high gear, and we can get the kids and the adults off of the gas pedal and allow the brake pedal to work better. And I drew this little figure up here on the board for y'all. So here's the brain up here, and then that comes down. It's going to innervate the gut, which is one of our most important parts, and it's going to innervate the immune. And it's interesting because the gut and the immune system go back and forth. We know this from a lot of the issues that we have with our kids. It's going to innervate the heart and the lungs as well. So all of these things are going to be there, and we need to be aware of them. And this may be, like I said, what could be going on in their kids. That's why these kids have such a wide array of issues going on at the same time. And a lot of them can be alleviated with something very simple. Now, there's a lot of ways to actually stimulate the vagus nerve. There's a lot of information out there in the Google. And it's interesting. So positive social relationships, right? So having a really positive people around you and in your life. Exercise. Cold exposure. Brr. Those of you that like the ice, especially cold water on the face. So dunking in cold water will increase the tone of the vagus nerve. Gargling also, because it stimulates in the back of the throat. Singing, chanting, humming. These types of things, all these will also stimulate the vagus nerve. Massage, yoga and Tai Chi, breathing exercises. There's a lot of different types of breathing exercises that will stimulate the vagus nerve and increase the parasympathetic system. And then, like I've been sharing, of course, chiropractic. Chiropractic, when we do the very specific adjustments in the upper neck, we stimulate that vagus nerve and we calm the system all the way through. So we get kids that are sleeping better. We get kids that mood levels out. We get kids who don't have the nervous stomach anymore, the butterflies all the time. They kind of feel queasy or nauseous. A lot of that stuff comes down. So parents, if you're dealing with a lot of different things in your kiddos, it may be this simple, as just the vagus nerve. I don't want to say just, that's a minimizing word because this is all really important, but it could be that simple. One place, one stop where we can put a halt on a lot of these things. And we did talk about this quite a bit when we did the perfect storm last week. We will be doing another perfect storm in January 16th. And we may do another one before that. If I do, it'll probably be an online one. So keep your eyes peeled for that so that you can see that. It'll be easy for people. I'll do it here on the Facebook and the Instagram, and we'll get some more information out there about the perfect storm. But if there's anything I can do for any of you all, if there's any questions I can answer, I hope this was helpful. It was just a quick little thing to inform you a little bit more. Moms and dads, we got your back. We're here to help you. If there's anything you need, please reach out and we'll be more than happy to help you. Have a super happy, safe Halloween. And if you're here in my area, I hope that you stay dry. All right? Peace out. Have a great day.